Do you think, or, or you have like read a lot of researches and studied, like how do you think, taking into conclusion those, how do you think it help small, middle business grow? Or how can it help entrepreneurs grow their business?
Yeah, so it can help you grow by using it at the things that it's good at, but not try to use it for every single thing. Because then all you're doing is just trying to get AI to do what you want. So AI is very good at certain tasks, and it's really revolutionizing certain things. Um, an example, right? If you need to read a lot of documents, you can ask an AI to summarize it. Now, those summaries are quite okay, but they're not always correct, right? So it can give you a good idea of, okay, this is kind of what it's about, but don't trust it, right? If there's really critical information in there, always verify, because AI suffers from what's called hallucinations,
Okay.
which it just with what seems like all the confidence in the world, it presents you an answer, and it's completely wrong, right? And how often AIs hallucinate, that depends a little bit on the type of question, on the type of data that you're working with, right? But many have like a hallucination rate of some 5%. So from what you ask an AI, about 5% of the answers is wrong. So that's where you need to think, okay, I use it for those things that it helped me with. So to summarize this, you can have AI agents that help you with certain workflows. To, I don't know, an email comes in and it needs to be processed. You need to do something with it, process payments. There's all kinds of things where you can use AI in all kinds of different AI tools, right? As long as you're always critical with what you're using it for, don't try to do everything with AI just because, and verify the results.
I have heard a lot like that also AI has bias. Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. So AI is really, it does pattern matching. So it learns from data, and then when you give it an input, it gives an output of what's the most likely output based on that data. But the data that it learns from has bias already, right? It has all the biases that we have in our world. They're still in there. That data has that bias hasn't been removed. So an AI is definitely biased, with very much the same kind of biases that we humans have suffered from for long times.
You mentioned something really interesting about the overviews that are not always 100% reliable. How will you um, recommend us to to verify this, or to be certain that something that we get from AI is certain and we can share with our customers, our audiences, our third parties?
Check the sources. So often when AI gives you this information, right, it also presents you with the sources where it got the information from. So do your own investigation as well, right? Really do double check. But with AI, you already know what to check for at least, right? So that's going to save you a lot of time instead of just Googling from the very first thing and going deeper and deeper and deeper. You can do very targeted search to say, okay, this sounds good, what AI gives me, but now I need to verify it, see if it actually makes sense.
Will you recommend us to trust AI on making, let's say, a strategy to grow our business, a strategy to manage our finances, a strategy to grow for creating content?
Depends on importance, I would say, right? The lower the importance of a task, or the lower the risks or the damage really if something goes wrong, the more trust I would leave to the AI, because if it fails, it's not a big deal, right? But the more important something gets, like a business strategy, finances, I would definitely not trust an AI. You can still use it, right? For business strategy, for example, it can give you very good ideas, which then based combined with your own brain, right, can help you think in directions that otherwise you might not have thought about. So AI, you can very much use it as well, even if you're sitting alone, thinking about your business, as a sparring partner. You ask it questions, it gives you answers, it makes you think further.
And what do you think? What do you observe? Why some people is scared of AI?
There's a couple of reasons. Partly is, I think, lack of understanding of what it really is. Right? We've all seen all these kind of movies, the science fiction movies, right? Well, maybe let's take the most extreme example of Terminator, right? Where AI takes over the world. Of course, there's these fears. And the less you know about it, the more you think that that may be just around the corner. Now, I'm not saying we'll never get there, honestly, because it's advancing very rapidly and there's still a long, many, many decades of development that's going to be happening there, right? But that's not why we're there. Secondly, I think a lot of people are afraid of losing their jobs. And AI can indeed replace a lot of work, but it doesn't make you obsolete, right? What it changes is that you need to shift how you do your work probably and focus on other areas. If we look at software engineering, for example, right? With software engineering, AI can write code. It can write quite decent code. Again, it's something you definitely shouldn't trust because the code written by an AI, I just read that in an investigation as well. Only 37% of the code written by AI is both correct and secure. That means a lot of the code there is either incorrect, so it has bugs, it doesn't do the thing you want it to do, or it's insecure, both of which are big issues. But still, it can help you to get a lot of code out there. You verify it, right? It can speed up the development process. So the work of a lot of software engineers shifts from just pushing out as much of code as possible to more thinking about the business and making sure that the business rules and the business needs are covered in there. And that's with every sector, every place where you can use AI, right? It will change the way how we work. And some jobs, yes, they will become obsolete, right? Other jobs, for the most of us, really, it will simply change how we work.
You mentioned something I think is quite important. Do not fear AI, but understand it. Adapt and understand. Adapt our ways of work because there's nothing I think is going to make us or is going to stop us here. We need to learn it, adapt our way of work, and our world. What book or how would you recommend the audience to understand AI? What would you tell them to? Okay, do this, read this to understand AI.
Right there, I would.
Which course to buy and follow?
There's a lot of courses around. There's a lot of books, right? I wouldn't recommend like one specific one. Okay, this is the one that's going to tell you everything you need. But what I would mostly focus on is understanding more, get a more fundamental understanding of what it is. So if you just do a course that just tells you like how to have better prompts for ChatGPT, right? Yes, it's gonna have some use, but these AIs, they're evolving at such a fast rate, these technologies, that what you learn now for that 1 year from now might not be useful anymore. It might be obsolete knowledge because they're just advanced to such an extent that it simply doesn't apply anymore. But the fundamentals are there to stay, right? So the more you understand those fundamentals, the more you are prepared for anything that's coming our way. Because AI is developing in a speed that's faster than we've seen before, right? Both from a technological standpoint, also from a business standpoint, right? There's companies that have gotten a 100 million valuation, right, for their investments at record speeds, as in within a year. That's not something we've seen before, right? So in all ways, it's accelerating a lot, but as long as you are there with some fundamental understanding, and it doesn't mean you need to be able to write AIs, right? It's not that scary neither. Just have a bit of an idea of, hey, what's actually going on there? It will help you to then also understand all the new things that are going to come our way.
How do you see the future? Well, first, another question. So it's going to replace us all or not? Who's going to replace?
No, it's not going to replace us all. Definitely not. So it's going to replace some, especially the more menial tasks, right? So the AIs are getting more and more accurate. So if what you're doing is just very, very basic data work, for example, right? Doing that, well, those are the kind of jobs that are more and more going to be taken over by AI. There is also what I think is going to happen. We see because of partly also the hype that some people might get replaced, but actually they shouldn't, right? That companies, they sell this great thing, a business buys into it. They think, now we can replace our customer service, for example, completely. And that has happened with an airline where they replaced their customer service completely by AI. Didn't entirely work out the way they wanted because they've actually been giving by accident some huge refunds to a whole bunch of customers. So now they're putting their real humans back in there, right? So it's definitely not going to replace us all, or at least not in the long run, right? Maybe some people get replaced and then later be pulled back in, but it will mostly change how we work.
So do you think like we are like in a honeymoon phase with AI of okay, it's going to make our job faster, quicker, it's going to save costs for some companies. But then what do you think is going to happen in 5 years? Or something like that approximately.
Absolutely. We're definitely in a honeymoon phase, right? In all kinds of ways and all kinds of use of AI. Because specifically when you're starting out things, it seems great, right? And for a big part it is, right? I'm a fan of AI as well. I use it as well, but you need to use it for the right things. So if you go too far overboard with your usage, then later on you're going to hit barriers. You're going to hit the problems. Let's take software engineering industry, for example, right? It's the one I'm most familiar with. Now, if you think that AI is now going to replace all software engineers, and that's really what some companies are doing, right? They're writing more and more code with AI. But AI is trained, like it's learned from all data. So also from bad data. So also if you train it, for example, for programming, it's also trained on bad code. So it's also going to produce that. So unless you properly supervise it, you're going to get issues. And some issues might not be apparent now, right? It's some security issue that you might run into in 1 year, in 2 years. And there's the other aspect of human resources, people, right? What we see happening as well in, for example, the software industry, junior developers are not getting hired as much anymore because AI can do that work. But if junior developers aren't being hired, they don't get a chance to get their experience, get knowledge. But senior developers are definitely needed to supervise AIs and to correct their work. So there's going to be a learning gap where companies are not investing in people, so they learn the right skills, where then in some years there's not going to be enough people with the right skill sets anymore. So there's definitely interesting times ahead, I would say.
Definitely. Let's cut here. And then first, I forgot to test the sound.
Ah.
Is it yours on?